Hello my dear students, I hope you all are doing well. So today I am going to start cross elasticity of demand. Now before going to this topic, cross elasticity of demand, in chapter number 2 we have done that the quantity demanded of commodity is not affected by only the price of its commodity but also the price of some other related commodity. So quantity demand can be influenced by the price of its substitute or complement goods. Now let's consider two commodity X and Y. So what I mean to say that when the price of any one of the commodity either X or Y increases or decreases, and if they are substitute goods, suppose say this X and Y are substitute goods. Here I am considering these two commodity X and Y are substitute goods, and when the price of this commodity Y increases, suppose say this X is our tea and this Y is our coffee. Now when the price of coffee increases, obviously the quantity demand for coffee will decrease and the quantity demand for tea will increase. So what we can see that when the price of any one of the commodity increases or decreases, obviously it has impact on the quantity demand of the other commodity. Like here, when the price of this coffee is increasing, the quantity demand for this coffee may decrease because of increase in price, whereas the quantity demand for tea may increase because tea is the substitute goods of that coffee. So once the price of one of the commodity increases, the quantity demand for the other commodity will increase. So that concept we are going to learn in the case of this cross elasticity of demand. Okay, now what is the definition of this cross elasticity of demand? So cross elasticity of demand refers to the degree of responsiveness between the quantity demanded of commodity X to a change in the price of commodity Y, or we can say that the cross elasticity of demand EXY, the symbolic representation of cross elasticity of demand is EXY, is equals to, we can say that the percentage change in the quantity demanded of commodity X by percentage change in the price of commodity Y. So here two commodities are there, X and Y. The meaning is that if the price of commodity Y increases or decreases, by how much amount or by how much percentage the quantity demand of commodity X will change. So that concept we are going to learn in the case of this cross elasticity of demand. And this EXY is the formula to represent the cross elasticity, and the formula is the percentage change. Cross elasticity of demand is defined as the percentage change in quantity demanded of a commodity X by the percentage change in the price of commodity Y. Or if we represent this cross elasticity of demand in a symbolic form, we can write it as EXY. So EXY is percentage change in quantity demand of commodity X divided by percentage change in the price of commodity Y. The formula for cross elasticity of demand. Once again, this is the final derivation formula for this price elasticity of demand, del Qx by del Py into Py by Qx, where this del Qx is the change in quantity demanded of commodity X, del Py is the change in the price of commodity Y, and this Py is the initial price of commodity Y, and Qx is the initial quantity demanded of commodity X. Next we have types of cross elasticity of demand. So cross elasticity of demand is of three types. Number one, positive cross elasticity of demand. Number two, we have negative cross elasticity of demand, and number three, we have zero cross elasticity of demand. It is similar to that income elasticity of demand. In the case of income elasticity of demand also, we had three categories, that is positive income elasticity, negative, and zero. In the same way, in the case of these types of cross elasticity of demand, we have three categories: positive cross elasticity of demand, negative cross elasticity of demand, and zero cross elasticity of demand. So I will explain one by one the meaning, and I will give you some example also to make you understand how we can say that this is a positive cross elasticity or negative or a zero. Now let's talk about this positive cross elasticity of demand. So cross elasticity of demand is said to be positive when increase in price of one commodity increases the quantity demand for other commodity. Then that type of elasticity is called positive cross elasticity of demand, and especially it happens in the case of substitute goods. I'll give one example. Suppose say X and Y are two substitute goods. Now when the price of this Y increases, the quantity demand of commodity X will increase. Once again, in the case of positive cross elasticity, what is the definition? Cross elasticity of demand is said to be positive when increase in price of commodity Y, leads to an increase in quantity demand for commodity X. That is, if the price of commodity Y is increasing, that causes an increase in quantity demand for commodity X, and this happens in the case of that substitute goods. If the price of one substitute good increases, obviously the quantity demand for the other substitute goods will increase. Here, let's consider this Y as again we can consider this one as, suppose say Coke, and this commodity X is suppose say Pepsi. Now this Coke and Pepsi are two substitute goods. When the price of this Coke increases, when the price of Coke increases, this upward arrow shows increase in price. So when the price of this Coke increases, obviously the quantity demand for this Pepsi will increase, or some other substitute goods will increase, because this Coke will become expensive in the market and the people will replace that Coke by other substitutes like Pepsi or maybe Fanta, etc. So that concept is called what? Positive cross elasticity of demand. The second type of cross elasticity of demand, we have negative cross elasticity of demand. So cross elasticity of demand is said to be negative when the price of one commodity increases leads to the fall in demand for the other commodity, then that concept is called negative cross elasticity of demand. And this happens in the case of complementary goods. I will give you the example of, suppose say car and petrol, or we can say that petrol and petrol cars. Now these two goods are petrol and petrol cars are two complement goods. So we know that the definition of complementary goods. Complementary goods are those goods in which both the commodities are consumed jointly or together. So without this petrol, we cannot run these petrol cars. So both this commodity, petrol cars and petrol, we have to consume together or we have to use together. So that is the definition of complementary goods. Now suppose say this petrol car is X and this petrol is, suppose say, Y. Now when the price of this petrol increases, obviously it has negative impact on the quantity demand for petrol cars. So quantity demand for petrol cars will decrease. So what we can notice that both this demand for petrol and petrol cars are moving in the opposite direction. One side, when the price of this petrol is increasing, the quantity demand for this petrol car is decreasing. So this concept is called negative cross elasticity of demand, and this is applicable in the case of complementary goods. Now third one, we have zero cross elasticity of demand. So cross elasticity of demand is said to be zero when the price of or increase in price of one commodity does not affect the quantity demand for other commodities. Suppose say two goods are there, X and Y. X and Y. When the price of Y increases, and if it does not have any impact on the quantity demand of commodity X, then that concept is called a zero cross elasticity of demand. And this happens when two goods are not related to each other. I'll give you one example. Suppose say tea and TV set. So tea and TV set are two examples where increase in the price of this TV set does not affect the quantity demand for this tea. Meaning that when the price of television is increasing, it will not have any impact on the quantity demand for this tea. So here this tea and TV is neither complementary goods nor substitute goods. So they are not related to each other. These two commodities are different from each other. So whether the increase or decrease in price of the TV set will not hamper or not affects or not influence the quantity demand for this tea, then that type of cross elasticity of demand is said to be a zero. So here these are the two examples, tea and TV set, where there is no relation between these two commodities, and increase or decrease in price of one commodity will not have any impact on the other commodity. So this is the case of zero cross elasticity of demand. So this is the end of this chapter. Next class I will start next chapter.